Hi guys, Howard again. This time I'm reviewing my Konica C35, a very small, light and fully featured 35mm camera. These cameras were very popular in their day and sold extremely well. We'll have a close look at mine in a minute or two, but first a little bit of history. This was the first of 4 C35 models, with the original arriving in 1968, that's my model, and culminating in the C35 FD, also known as the Konica Auto S3 in 1973. The original C35 had a 38mm f2.8 multi-coated 4-element hexagon lens, a bright line viewfinder with a split image rangefinder, 46mm filter thread with CDS cell within the lens unit, a self-timer, shutter speeds from 1/30th to 1/650th plus B, and weighed in at a mere 13 ounces, 380 grams. The ISO range for the metering was 25 to 400. The second model, the C35V 1971, was a budget model, and that used zone focusing and no longer had the self-timer. The third model, the C35 Auto, also 1971, brought back the split image rangefinder and the self-timer and improved the Flashmatic system. The fourth model, the famous C35FD/Auto S3, 1973, made some major changes. It introduced a 38mm f1.8 6-element hexagon lens, 49mm filter thread. ISO range was increased, now it's 25 to 800, and the speeds changed to 1/8 of a second to 1/500th of a second. This model is a cult camera and commands high prices today, $200 to $300 for a really nice example. Okay, let's have a good look at mine. Now, unfortunately, mine isn't the S3, and so it's not worth $200 to $300. But nevertheless, even this model is, is the best part of $100 for a good one. So, still a very nice little camera, and this is a very nice example. All right, so now the one thing I will mention: all 4 of those cameras use this chassis. So, even the later one with all the fancy doodads still uses exactly this chassis and exactly this size. Okay, looking from the front. So we've got the nice little hexagon lens here, the f2.8, 38mm. We've got the CDS metering window up here, and we've got the ASA window down here. Now, there is a ring right around behind this nameplate, and as you change the ISO down here, it changes the amount of light that can get through to the actual metering mechanism behind it. So some use a slot that gets wider and narrower, some use dots, sort of little holes, different sizes, and I'm not quite sure what this one is, but nevertheless, that's how that system works. So to change the ISO, or ASA, whatever you want to call it, there's a serrated ring standing proud of the lens here. So you put your thumbs on it and you move it around to whichever ISO or ASO you want, and that adjusts that. Okay, also on the front we've got the a nice little self-timer. I won't operate it, but it works just fine. We've also got a little focusing tab here. I mean, I prefer just to grab the ring itself, but there is a little tab there to use if that's your preference. Also on the front, we've got the Konica C35 nameplate, rangefinder window, viewfinder window. I'll speak about that later, and the two little strap lugs. Now, if we get around to the top and look at the barrel, you'll notice there's not much there. There's no shutter speeds ring, there's no aperture ring, there's simply a focusing ring. And that goes from infinity to back to a meter. Very short throw, as you can see, and in meters and feet. The 2 scales are there. Now, the reason there are no aperture or speed rings is because this camera calculates all that automatically. It's programmed into the camera, so you have absolutely no control over that. It selects, depending on the amount of light that it detects, it selects both the speed and aperture, and they're linked in a sort of programmed sequence. Okay, now as you can see, there's a black line there. The word auto is here and B beside it. So if you want to put onto B, you have to press. I won't do it because this ring's very stiff. But you press that button in and grasp the whole ring and turn it so the B cut lines up with this. And also there are guide numbers for flashes around here as well. So there's 3 different ones with intermediate stops as well. So if you do want to use the flash, once again you've got to push that in, turn the whole ring. It's pretty hard to grip and mine's very tight. And you bring whatever guide number you want to use up to this little black mark here with the flash symbol beside it. And that will restrict, depending on the guide number, how far you can focus the ring. So it stops you from focusing the ring outside what the guide number can handle. Okay, so it's quite sophisticated, but it's very hard to move this back ring, and mine is really tight, so I won't do that. Okay, if we get to the top, we've got a very standard rewind knob and little handle. We've got a hot flash shoe. Now, it's a standard one, so if you've got a standard hot shoe, you can use those using the guide number for the flash. Key it in there, and it'll do it all for you. If you've got a corded flash, there's a PC sync socket around here. So if you've got a corded flash, you use that. If you've got a flash with a standard hot shoe, you can use that. On top here, we've also got the wind-on lever to wind on the film and cock the shutter, and a standard shutter button, which takes a normal cable release. And we've got a little window for the frame counter here, and that resets to 0 when you open the back. All right, we'll open the back now. Okay, so it's very standard in here. If you want to load a film, you pull that up so you can get your cassette in, draw the film across, put in one of these slots. Now, as you wind on, the outer doesn't work, but you can probably see, with a bit of luck, that the inside rotates around. So it will grab the film leader. And then, so wind it on a bit, make sure it's gripping, make sure that the sprocket holes are sitting on the sprockets. Close the back. Take up the slack gently. We don't want to pull it off where we fed it on. Take out any slack and then wind it on. Do your 2 shots, wind on, and this should be rotating as you wind on, and that'll tell you you've loaded the film properly. On the bottom, we've got a battery cover, we've got a standard tripod mount, and the rewind button to press that so we can rewind the film back into the cassette, and it'll disengage the winding mechanism. Okay, now let's get to the viewfinder. This is a little bit more complicated. We've got a nice Brightline viewfinder with a little right angle up in the corner, inside the frame, the Brightline frame, for close-up work. So if you're taking a photo of something in a metre distance or something, use that little corner rather than as the top of the Brightline frame. Don't use the whole frame. But basically, I mean, just leave a little bit of space around everything, you'll be fine. But it's a nice bright viewfinder, and the rangefinder is very clear and sharp. I'm quite surprised, actually. A lot of old cameras, the rangefinders just fade away, but not this. The rangefinder in this is nice and crisp, and it's very easy to focus accurately. Now, on the right-hand side here, we've got 2 scales. We've got f-stops, and we've got speeds, and a little red top and bottom mark, so that if you're in the red, don't take the shot. It'll let you, but don't take it. But anyhow, so as I say, these apertures and speeds are all pre-programmed. So you've got 1/60th of a second opposite 2.8. We've got a 1/25th of a second opposite f4. We've got 1/250th halfway between f5.6 and f8. And we've got the very strange speed of 1/650th opposite the very strange aperture of f14. So it will move in. I mean, they're not locked in positions. It'll work within that range, anywhere within that range, to give you a pre-programmed combination. got a little serial number on the back here, and these are all made in Japan, so they're nicely made. Okay, so that's pretty much it. They're pretty simple little cameras. Now, a couple of words of warning. You can't turn the meter off, so you have to put a lens cover on it. The only one I could find was a Ricoh, so it's not a Ricoh camera, but it fits the things. But anyhow, if you're going to store it, you've got to cover the lens up, because the meter will be working continuously. And the other thing to be wary of is, without a battery or without the light meter system working, these things are basically pretty much as dead as a dodo. I think you can shoot them without a battery, f1.8, 2.8 at a 30th, but that's the only option. Whatever the lighting conditions are, the camera will take it at f2.8 to 30th, so that's pretty useless. But regardless of all that, if you can get a really nice one of these, especially the Auto S3, I mean, that really is a cult camera, and if you can get one of them in perfect working condition, you'll get some fantastic photos out of it. And even these lenses are, they may only be a Tessar design, but they're manufactured by Hexanon, and they are top of the tree lenses. So that's it, the Konica C35, a lovely little, easy to carry around camera for those of you who find the standard ones just too heavy. And you know, if you can get a good one, and you're prepared to pay the money for whichever model, I'd recommend it. Okay, well, look, thanks for watching. And if you found the video useful, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And once again, thanks for watching.